Hey everybody, this is Roy again from New York Tea Society, and this is day 2 of Yi Tian Yi Cha, one day, one tea. For today, we're going to do a white tea. The last time we did Longjing, which was a very popular green tea. A lot of people have already tried Longjing. This one, although the category is white tea, chances are you have not tried this yet. I am going to do a Shan Tuyết Bạch Trà, Vietnamese white tea. Okay, and this Vietnamese white tea is a very special tea. It comes from, well, before we get into all that, let's just pour it out and show it to you before we tell you where it comes from. You can see, as I pour this out here, that they are buds. This is a bud tea. I don't call it a silver needle because to me, silver needle would tell me that it's coming from Fuding, right? From Fuding, China, where white teas are more commonly known to be made. And silver needle, in my eyes, when I hear that phrase, I'm thinking Fuding white tea, right? So I call this Shan Tuyết Bạch Trà. Bach is the Vietnamese poetic term that's used for white. So basically, it's a Shan Tuyết white tea. Shan Tuyết, Shan means mountain, Tuyết means snow, so it means snow mountain. Although there is no snow in the region where these teas are made. Shan Tuyết is not a region. Shan Tuyết is the cultivar name, not a region. The region is northwest Vietnam. Particularly, these teas come from Song La province in Tha Shua. Right? So there are several provinces in northwest Vietnam that produce Shan Tuyết cultivar teas. We believe the most famous one would be Ha Giang, but there's quite a few others. There's about 6 to 8 of them, and they produce these types of teas. Now, the Shan Tuyết cultivar is an Assamica tree, first off, right? Let's talk about the difference between Assamica and Sinensis, right? So, tea is made from Camellia sinensis, right? Let's go back up a little bit. And if it's not an infusion made from the plant Camellia sinensis, then it is classified as a tisane. It's not classified as a tea. The reason for this is that only Camellia sinensis plants have L-theanine, and teas all have L-theanine and caffeine. All right. So a lot of tisanes do not have, actually no tisanes have L-theanine because there's no other plant that has L-theanine. I believe there's one type of mushroom out there that has it, but I don't know which mushroom or where you can find it, and I think it's to a minimal amount, so we won't talk about that. So for our intents and purposes, Camellia sinensis is the only plant that contains L-theanine. And that's why, to be classified as tea, it has to be an infusion of Camellia sinensis. Now, Camellia sinensis, there's 2 main varietals. There's more than that, Camellia thaiensis, which is like a wild cousin. But we won't get into these exceptions. We'll just stick with the 2 main categories of Camellia sinensis, which is Camellia sinensis assamica and Camellia sinensis sinensis. Camellia sinensis sinensis is found mostly toward the eastern regions of China, while Camellia sinensis assamica is found more in the western areas of China, especially Yunnan and south, right? So you have Yunnan, and then you'll find these trees in Burma, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam. Okay. Now take away all these man-made borderlines. Basically, you're talking about the same region, and that's why the trees are all there. So the tea trees that are making this are basically the same type of tea trees that are being used to make the Yunnan pu'ers that we all love so much. Most of us do, right? So let's go ahead and start brewing some of this so that we can taste it and talk about it a little bit more and what makes it so special. As I said, I'm using 1 gram of tea to 20 milliliters of boiling water. And this is about 100 ml it can hold about 100 ml of water. So I'm going to use 5 grams of tea. But first we're going to warm up our vessel so that we can talk about the aroma a little bit more. Yes, you can get some aroma from the dry leaves a little bit sometimes. In this case, a slight aroma, right? So normally you want to, when I show you the teas, it's more about looking at the individual tea leaves and the consistency of them and the quality of the leaves. The aroma you're going to get much more of after you warm them up a little bit. So we put them into a warm vessel, and then we're going to give it a little shake, and we will smell it. Oh my God, it's okay. How do I describe this? Dry pine tossed in honey, right? That's the best way I can describe it, because it's sweet and it has that dry pine, and it's a very unique smell and taste. It doesn't smell anything like a Fuding white tea. It tastes like a completely different category of tea, to be honest with you. But it is fantastic, and it's something that you should not miss. Sometimes I just feel like smelling the tea is enough. I don't need to go on and drink it. But we're gonna go ahead and drink it. Okay? So let's go ahead and brew this first brew. As many of you know, if you know me, I do not use a timer. I like to do intuitive brewing. And the way I do that, there's 3 stages for the first steeping that I use. I want to look at the color of the tea. In this case, it's a white tea, so the color is not going to change much, but there will be some change, right? And then I want to look at the leaves themselves. I just peek a little bit to see how they're unfurling. And if I see that they're starting, if I see a little tint of color coming out into the brew, and I see that they're unfurling, then I'm going to go ahead and smell the aroma in the top of the dome. The aroma builds up little by little, and when it's a hint of aroma, it's not quite ready. But when you smell the aroma, and it's a burst of aroma, then you know that it's ready, right? And I've been doing this way of brewing for quite some time. I feel that it is flawless. No matter, even if you use the wrong, see, that was a burst of aroma, and I'm gonna go ahead and brew this. Look at the color on that. It's like a nice gold color. So what I was saying is even if I use the lesser temperature of water or a higher amount of leaves, it doesn't matter, because if you're using this method of brewing, then your tea will always come out the way you want it, right? It's going to come out to exactly what you want to drink. As a chef background, I do not believe that recipes work. I just don't. Recipes are a great guide, and I do use, as part of intuition brewing, I do use part of my experience. I know about how long I need to brew, and that comes from, that basically is like if I read a recipe and it said bake it for 1 hour. Great, I'm gonna bake something for 1 hour, but that doesn't mean that exactly 1 hour I'm gonna take it out, because I'm gonna see first that it's completely done, right? Or if I start smelling that it's smelling too much in the air, then I know maybe I'm gonna take it out before that hour. So the hour is a guiding point. And it's the same thing with tea. I am not going to be so exact to say, brew this tea for 1 minute, and then I have everybody rushing the tea out in 1 minute, and the tea may not be ready in 1 minute. Maybe the tea was ready in 50 seconds. Maybe it's going to take 1 minute, 10 seconds, right? And the teas are different every time. So let's go ahead and drink this. But that's the reasoning behind the way I brew, and it does have to do with my chef background and how people should use all their senses for brewing. But enough of that. We'll talk more about that in future sessions too. Let's try this. The sweetness is still there. That dry pine, and I say dry pine because it's not like that fresh green pine. It's more like after pine is dried out and become hay, and then sweeten that up, and that's what you have here. It's very, it has viscosity, you can see, almost gelatinous. And this tea comes, I didn't even get to that yet. So this tea comes from northwest Vietnam in Ta Shua in Son La province, and it is made by the Hmong people who live up in the northwest Vietnamese region. It is, the trees in that region are between 100 and 800 years old. It was declared an UNESCO site about 5 years ago or so, and it is gaining in popularity. It is a beautiful area, like a lot of tea regions are. It is a very beautiful area to go visit. And the tree that this tea comes from is about 300 years old. That would put it into the category of a gushu. So when you're categorizing teas, you have dashu, which is an old tree, dashu, and then you have gushu, which is an ancient tree. And at the age of 300 is categorized as a gushu. So this would be a gushu Bai Cha, or ancient tree white tea. Right? That's very important because old trees tend to give you a different feeling that you would get from younger trees. We like to use the term cha chi to describe it. Cha meaning tea, chi meaning the energy of the spirit, is kind of like in Tai Chi, you move the chi, you're moving the energy. In Feng Shui, you want the chi to flow easily without obstacles, right? So you're talking about the energy of the tea, cha chi. And the energy of the tea is what we're feeling when we drink a tea like this. It's very different from just a caffeine rush. And only old trees really can give you this type of feeling. The reason, let me brew a second brew and then I'll get a little stick to give you a demonstration of why I believe the reason is behind cha chi, right? Wow. That is special. This is the 2026 Shan Tuyết tea. I've been buying tea from this area for about the past 8 years. And I believe that this year is one of the best out there. For those of you that don't know, Chinese teas are not like Japanese teas or Indian teas where they blend them together in order to get a consistent tea year after year from the same producer. We actually very much enjoy being surprised by what the tea will taste like each year. And that changes based on weather, the weather, you know, how much rain, how much sun, and there's different reasons for it. But they don't try to blend it to make a consistent taste. So my 2026 white tea from the same producer, from the same farm, from the same tree will taste very different from the 2025 or the 24 or the 23. Not very different. It will taste different for sure, right? I'll be able to tell them apart if I were to drink them separately. Okay, so this is the second brew, and we can see that the color is still that nice, beautiful golden color, and it's clear, transparent, and the aroma is still there. It's actually sweeter on the second steeping. It's quite amazing, and very beautiful. So let me just give you a little diagram. I'm going to use this to represent the tea plant, right? And this is the soil that it's growing out of, my finger. So a lot of times they will prune the plant in order to be able to pick it easier so that the plant starts growing out sideways, right? And whatever happens on top of the soil happens below the soil. So the roots will also start growing out sideways. Right? Okay, so if you don't prune it, then the tree, it will grow into a tree. Okay? And on the bottom side of the soil, the roots will also grow straight down as they did on the top. And what this does is that it breaks through the topsoil. Before, the roots were stuck in the topsoil because they were going sideways, and all the roots are in the topsoil. In the topsoil, there's a very limited amount of nutrients and compounds that the plant can pull from to shoot into the leaves. But when the roots go deeper down, it goes into the different part of the soil where there's a more abundance of compounds and minerals that it can pull from. And this goes into the leaves that we later pick, and it makes a much stronger, much more powerful tea that then you can feel something from. A lot of us in the tea world drink tea for feeling and less for taste. The flavor is always going to be important because you don't want to drink something that is tasting bad, but more likely I would rather have a tea that made me feel good and didn't taste great than a tea that tastes great but didn't make me feel anything. There are exceptions to that, but in general, I like teas that make you feel something. So this tea would go on for another 8 to 12 brews, and we are not going to do that together. I am going to go on by myself and continue to enjoy this tea. But please, if you have not ever tried the Shan Tuyết Vietnamese teas, do yourself a favor and try it. Of course, New York Tea Society does supply it, and it is one of our best-selling signature teas, actually. I'll see you next time on day 3, when I will be doing a red tea, I believe. We'll go green, white, and we'll do red next. Okay? So until tomorrow, see you. This is Roy from New York Tea Society.